It's
Hello, welcome back. Today's episode is all about those focuses connected to mediumship, internal resistance that can often pop up when you are developing your mediumship, or maybe even before you even start learning about mediumship.
yeah, it's just that internal shit that stops you. So
There's
that's what we're talking about today, the internal factors that stop your mediumship confidence. And this is with anything, right?
right. Any new
Whether it's
skill
mediumship, whether it's whatever skill it is.
any new skill that's coming up that you're thinking I want to do, you're gonna have those internal shifts that come up inside of you, and you're thinking, should I be doing this? Should I even try to do this? And that's a big thing that I want you to listen to if you are someone that's brand new and you're thinking, I'm really intrigued by mediumship, but I need to prepare to get ready before I take the class because I need to make sure that I'm right on point and I'm right on the level for the people in class or for the retreat. That's not the answer. The important piece, and we've talked about this before, the important piece when it comes to confidence is you have to take the action.
You do, and we've had so many clients that said that same thing, where they were like, I wasn't ready before I started the program, whether
Mm-hmm.
it was Unlock or Mediumship Mastery Circle. And I didn't feel ready. I felt like I needed to like do all of these things beforehand to get ready. And then they realized afterwards that after they went through the program, wow, this was the thing I needed
Right.
to skyrocket my confidence, to skyrocket everything that I thought that I had to do before I got into the program. So I've done this before with different programs. You've done this before. We all think like before we go and we're a teacher or we're a coach or whatever, we have to have everything perfect. We have to show up perfect. And that's not the case because as you really get in the trenches, like a lot of our clients have, you realize that same thing that we're all human.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're squeezed, when you're in the trenches and you're being squeezed, all of the stuff inside you starts to come out. And you start to learn more about the negative side of yourself, and that can scare people to where we switch it with our clients. What they start to realize is once they start to see more and more negative stuff about themselves, they're like, yes, it means I'm growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's like
well they're
finding
going
gold
they're going through the
going
resistance.
through that resistance. So if you're not being squeezed right now and you're thinking, oh, this is all easy for me, odds are you're probably not in the trenches. You're not out there giving readings. You're not out there doing the thing because as you are, you start to get squeezed and you start to have these feelings of, I feel like I'm not enough for that level or that level. No matter if you've been doing this for 20 years or you're just starting out, it's like there's always another level to go to. So realize that if you're being squeezed and all this negative stuff is coming up and you're realizing more about yourself, it means you're on your path. It's a good sign, actually.
And it's making me think of when I was wanting to take a yoga class recently. And I kept saying, well, I probably should prepare ahead of time and do some yoga by myself and watch some YouTube videos before I go and take the class. And I think I did it probably a few times, a handful of times, but it wasn't until I actually attended the class and I was in the energy of the people and it was live that I felt more so like I'm actually getting more out of this because I'm with people, and it created a confidence to know, okay, what do I expect during this class?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
it wasn't a complicated class. Like there was one that was extremely hard and I was in the wrong class completely. Um but the other one I was like, "Oh, I actually like this." And it wasn't until I actually went with a friend and showed up. So sometimes what happens is you meet friends at classes, whether it's mediumship or other things, but you have to go and you have to experience it for yourself in a group, in the energy. And watching YouTube videos, I'm not saying not to do that if it comes to mediumship, but it's when you're in the energy of other people that things start to shift for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's when everything shifts. And just act like we're talking to somebody right now that's been doing it for a decade or 2 decades, and they're thinking, wait, should I keep taking classes? Should I keep joining programs and going through the basics? Well, think about it. Do athletes, do they
Mm-hmm.
keep going through the basics? Do actors or actresses or any professional entrepreneur, do they keep studying the basics and going over it over and over again? Yes, they do, because they understand that repetition is the mother of all skill, and they also understand what you said. Like whenever you're around a group of people, all the shifts start happening. You can do your work in your own time.
Right.
That's not gonna hurt it. What we're trying to say here is like, don't keep on saying, oh, for the next 2 years I'm gonna keep doing my work on my own time and then I'll join the class. It's like join the class, yet calling's coming up for a reason. So think about it, like that inner calling keeps coming up for a reason. It's telling you to join this class, to do that, to do that. Well, put it in the calendar, and then yeah, you could prepare and look at YouTube videos and do all that, but get it in the calendar and make sure, like what you said, you're joining in with like-minded people because that's where all the magic happens. It's like if you look
Right.
at all of our brains as batteries, and then you have all of these batteries with the same intention, like whether it's yoga or mediumship skills, in this same area, it starts to multiply. It's not addition anymore. It's not like eight
Right.
people, there's eight people. It's like those brains multiply energy. And then you start to get this mastermind effect, this other mind that comes in that really starts to give everybody insights and this new clarity. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where all the breakthroughs start to happen is whenever you're in on your path doing that thing.
Right, because other people are sharing their internal resistance, and then you're like, oh, I'm actually not alone anymore because they're experiencing the same thing. Sometimes when we have groups of people together, classes, um, we have different levels. Like the webinar that we have coming up, it's going to be for people that are brand new to mediumship. Some people have reached out and said, well, is it for me if I've never even taken a class? Yes, it is. Then there's other people that have been doing it for 30 years. There is magic in having that happen because you can hear the viewpoints of both people and you start to realize, wow, look at how far I've come, or look where I can go. And I think that's the most important thing, too. When you're dealing things with internal resistance, any kind of internal factors, a lot of the times we can point outside of ourselves. Like you had shared, we could blame it on the sitters, right?
Yeah.
Blame it on, the environment. It's not the
Lack
right
of support. We
space.
don't have support from this person or that person. They're sending me negative vibes. It's fucking up my brain. I can't give readings.
Right. And it's nothing to do with that if you can stay focused. Of course, yes, there are times where you have shut off people. Like I've had probably a handful. I can count on my hands. That's how few I've had with sitters that stick out to me where they're like they don't want to be there maybe at
Yeah.
an audience event, or their arms are crossed, or you know they're trying to be closed off so that I can't give them a reading because they're skeptical and they're like, I don't know if I trust that. If I had one sitter, this is kind of goes along with it because this is an example of what can happen when you can't point out the fingers to every sitter that you have, but someone receiving a reading. I remember giving a reading to someone and she was referred from a friend, and I gave her the reading, very, very detailed reading. This was probably at this point maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And her boyfriend passed, and the information that came forward was very detailed for her. And she's like, well, how do you know that? She was very skeptical. She thought that it was coming from someplace else when really I was communicating with him. So we're not talking about those sitters, someone that's not trusting, someone that resists against receiving. It's not like that.
Yeah, and that's a whole other episode, which we'll do next week. There are external factors. These do
Right.
matter. Like maybe there's a beginner right now that's listening to where they've given readings just to people around them. Like some of them are bad sitters for different reasons. Some might be open, but they
Yeah.
look at you and they're like, "No, I know this person. You're not a medium." Like, I'm open to mediums. Who are you?
Right.
Or it could be they're just closed off too. So it's like sometimes you're
They're
trying to
not
give,
ready for the
they're not
reading.
ready for it. You're trying to give readings to people around you. Like you need to get in the environments with the people that are receiving too. Like that's the point of this also. But first we got to handle that internal, right? That's why we did this episode first because it's like if
Right.
you could point like if you don't handle the internal, it's going to seem like it's all of these external factors that are that's the reason why I'm not doing it when it's bullshit. We know that 80% is mindset, 20% skill set with anything that you're about to create. So any business, any skill that you're going to learn, it's going to be 80% mindset, 20% skill set. So we have so many mediums that are like just taking class after class and they're working on their mediumship skills and they're wondering why they're hitting a plateau. It's because they're only focusing on the 20%. That's the skill set. What about that bigger 80% yourself, the human, the programming, the wiring, the energies that are inside of you that's processing all of this. Like that one that comes up, I'm not, whether it's 20 years or just starting out, I'm not enough for that level, right? The 20-year veteran is like, I'm not enough to be world famous. I'm not enough to be on that level. The beginner's like, I'm not enough to be a medium and be respected. And all of these things come up. If we can't get around that, that delays us decades. If we could handle that 80%, which that's what we do in our programs, that's why we love this class coming up. That's why we love our programs we do because we deal with that
Yeah.
80% too. And when we could deal with that, right, haven't you seen that's when our
Oh, that's
clients really
huge.
skyrocket and move past any plateau that they're hitting?
And also, it comes back to how you're feeling internally with the steps that you're doing. So it's not just about the mediumship either. It's not just about the mindset piece. It's actually about the physical body. And I would push that off a lot. We've had a lot of conversations on the podcast about the physical body. But when I know that I am nourishing myself when it comes to the food that I'm ingesting, the the nutrient dense food. Like when I know that I've ate a lot of fruit, I've had cacao powder in between readings, I've had enough water. It gives me the confidence to know that I'm doing the right steps to actually show up for my clients with full energy and for my students. So I think that's a big thing. We've talked about, morning habits. I feel like you're very good at your morning habits. Recently, I've been taking time to sit outside and have some alone time, keep my phone in the house and just sit on the couch outside and, write, read. Those steps build up even more confidence and it shows up in mediumship because I know I'm taking time for myself before I go to my clients.
Yeah, so if we're gonna give them different steps to do to handle this, like to handle the when that I'm not feeling like enough comes
Right.
up, or what are they going to think? Like, what are the people going to think around me? That's a big one too, especially when you're a beginner.
Oh,
Like as you
yeah.
get used to it, we're used to it now. It still can affect you at times, but it's not the same as
It's,
whenever.
yeah,
So if
it's
you're a
very
beginner and
close.
it's really overwhelming about the people around you, just know that kind of like tapers off as long as you keep working on what we're talking about here, the mindset piece, and the overall pieces here. You'll keep moving through it. I don't know where I was getting at with that, but it had to do with the last
Well,
thing that you said.
the steps
So,
and how to
yeah, so the
handle it.
steps how to handle it. So if you want to know very simple steps on whenever you're feeling this, it's what you're saying. Like, go back. We'll call it self care. Go back to the self care. Like, are you being disciplined with yourself, with your nutrition and your exercise? Because the body does matter. It is a tool for your readings. Everything that you are is a tool for your readings. So are you doing the nutrition, the exercise? Are you taking care of that mindset piece that we're talking about, like having a coach or joining programs or having people be a mirror for you? Because when you're around a group of like-minded people, they'll say something, and you're like, shit, I was feeling that too. It becomes a mirror for you. You get to
Definitely.
see yourself. So are you looking at the mirror? Are you going and looking at the mirror? Are you surrounding yourself with these like-minded people? With the self care? Are you doing the disciplines? Are you consistently giving readings and have an effective reflection? I think that's huge.
That's the
So,
biggest
like, are
one.
they consistently giving readings? Not only just giving readings, but are you effectively reflecting? Which we don't have enough time to go on here and all the details about that, but it's really like when you're beating yourself up, that's not effective reflection. Like there's been times, especially at the beginning when you were doing
Oh,
readings,
yeah.
you'd come back and you'd have a platform and you'd be talking about all the things that you did wrong. Like Lindsay, you crushed it up there. It wasn't effective the way you're approaching it because it was like victim mode. It was lower energy.
I
But
was
there's
very
another way to.
focused on not not acknowledging the fact of the things that I was doing that were right and that weren't
Yes.
missing.
So that's part
So
of the
that's a
effective
difference.
reflection too. Is like I own that I did this right,
Celebrating.
this right, this right, but I did fuck up here, here, and there. And it's like the tone you're using. It's just like, oh, this is just I'm on my path and I'm gonna grow every time I give a reading, every time I do a platform. I'm gonna grow a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
Hmm.
And we could go in more detail about effective reflection, but just know that that's a huge part of it is giving readings, effective reflection, and then this whole big self care piece, like looking at that 80%, that mindset. What do your disciplines look like? And then I don't know if you could think of another little step they could
Well,
add
I
into that.
feel like the biggest thing really are those simple habits daily. Like it's not just a once a month thing. And I think that's what people think. Oh, I'm going to get a massage once a month, or I'm going to go to acupuncture once a month. It's not about that. It's actually about even how you're showing up in the world with people that you're connected to personally. Because if you're saying yes to things that aren't aligned with what you want, and you're saying yes to that, your energy is leaking out
Yes.
and you're not being honest about what you want. So you're not going to be as much in your power when it comes to readings. I feel like there's times in the past where I could see myself like really depleting my energy personally, saying yes to things, going out when I didn't want to. And now I'm just like, right when I know that I want to go, I say yes. I make quick decisions. I think people that get stuck in the indecisiveness and they don't make quick decisions, it literally changes your energy and your energetic blueprint and what you're putting out even to your clients too.
Yes, and that's one decision at a time. It's like, so you're making one decision, it gets
Yeah.
easier and easier, and they're not going to see the whole picture. They're not going to know, like what you said earlier, you're like going to get a massage once a month or doing something once a month. It's not enough, especially for the people we're talking to. If you're someone that wants to give readings, like we're either talking to people that want to give readings just as a life skill
Mm-hmm.
for their life, or a majority of them want to like do this full time. So like you want to do this, you're not gonna know like the self care you need, the disciplines you need
Right.
until you're squeezed. Like once you start, you're in on your path, and you're giving the readings weekly, and you're handling all the mindset pieces. When you're eating dinner, when you're going to sleep at night, when you're doing everything else, you have this schedule booked out for the next 6 months, or whatever it may be for you. Like all this pressure comes to you. Maybe you're just giving readings to your family and friends and it's a life skill for you, but there's still pressure that comes with it. And it's like the amount of pressure you have in your life, you need to really balance it out with your disciplines. Like I noticed as we added the retreat to our schedule, as we added these different masterminds to our schedule, as my schedule the last 7 years has gotten more tight and where I need to be on point more, I had to change my disciplines around. I had to be more disciplined. I had to be more, you know, add add into where I was doing saunas even more, jumping on trampolines to flush my lymphatic system. All these little pieces I could go on and on about,
Right.
but just staying open to the point that it's like you're not going to know all of your answers right now in this moment. You
Well,
just
and
got to
I
keep
didn't
taking
even
one
think
step at a
of this
time.
stuff at all.
You're
Like
not
at the
going to.
beginning, like the first 5 years, I had no clue that I even needed to
Yes.
eat right. Like I had no clue.
So you have an edge right now.
I was so focused on just getting the reading done or just signing up for the class that I didn't care about my physical body when it came to mediumship. I didn't even connect it. I didn't think, "Oh, this is going to help my readings." I That wasn't even in my awareness. And it's because of all the readings and the coaching sessions that we've done with our clients that we knew like this is really an impact, but it's easy to go through your mediumship development in a cloud and be focused on one thing, and that's just giving a good reading. But in actuality, there's so many more layers to it. It's an emotional game that you're playing when it comes to entrepreneurship, it comes to mediumship development. Even I want to speak to the people that have never done mediumship. They're not even thinking like, oh, what if I don't even know if I want to do a full reading. I just want to connect in mediumistically and develop my mediumship because I want to see where this leads. I don't know where it's going to lead. It might just be connecting in with my own past loved ones and having guidance from them. This is important for you too. So I want you to think about that because there's a lot of people that are on this page that there's levels to it. Either you're a medium full time, or you're just taking classes for fun, or you're thinking about it, but you don't even know if it's for you. That's the big thing.
Or you're a bullshitter reacting like you've been wanting to do it for years and you're just not doing anything. Don't be that person.
Well, yeah, and
Well,
it's that.
because well, I'm calling it out because it's like we don't want to. Like, a year from now, you be on our podcast and you're still going through the same cycle. When in all reality, your soul, you telling you to move towards
Yeah,
something.
and
So
it's
we're
all
just
connected to
because it's
fear.
like I've seen how much healing comes from people waking up and then going to use their gift. Like I got goosebumps saying that because it's so powerful. The world needs it, right? Whether we were talking about people that are carpenters right now. The world needs carpenters. The world needs healing, right? You guys are healers. You guys have powerful abilities to connect people to another universe, right? Another world. Like think about the power of that. And these people in this world on Earth, they think that that world doesn't exist. Some of those people, they think that once someone dies, they're gone forever. And here you are bringing them and showing them, no, 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 look, they still exist. Like how powerful is that, right? So it's like, why? Let's not wait. Let's get in motion. Let's keep developing our skills.
Well, and just not having the fear of taking that first step. That's the biggest
That's
thing.
it. Yeah.
It's taking one step forward and knowing that, let me just see where this goes. Because if I was
Yeah.
told that I took the class and I had to decide that I was going to be a full time medium and get paid for mediumship readings, I would say, I'm not doing
Like
that
I'm not
class.
doing it.
Because when I took my first class, I was just intrigued. I wanted, really, I got the healing for myself, um, dealing with my own grief. And I'm like, I want to help other people, but that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to leave my teaching position as a third grade teacher. Like, that wasn't the plan. But it led there, and I just followed the breadcrumbs. So that's what can happen is if you think too far ahead, you might get overwhelmed. So that goes back to the internal resistance too, is thinking, "Oh, am I this person?" You're not that person yet. That's the big thing. That people come to me, well, I don't know if I'm ready for the class, because once I open up to the class, I feel like the floodgates are going to open and I'm not going to have any control over anything, and I don't know if I'm ready to do this full time. And I always say, you don't have to decide if you're doing it full time, right? You're deciding to take the class. And that's the big thing.
Well, we're both teachers, educators. Why did we go in teaching? Because we believe in education. We believe in developing people. And I came across the law of attraction and mindset and all that before this mediumship. And once I started to experience mediumship myself, I started to realize it's all one. Like, if I'm
Yeah.
a teacher and I'm starting a school, which you could look at our business as it is, I'm putting mediumship as a class because you're developing the mind of people. You're developing their communication skills. I've watched people that whenever they develop their mediumship skills, they have spiritual awakenings.
Oh, yeah.
They start to being a medium is like having a personal development course because we talked about for you to be have a powerful reading, you got to keep working on that 80%. So you got
Mm-hmm.
to work on yourself. If you want to become a better medium, it's you can't just practice mediumship and become a better medium. I don't believe that.
No,
You'll
there's so
get
much
you'll
more.
get better, little by little, but if you work on that 80%, holy shit, you'll see a whole transformation. So, like what you're saying is like even if they're just using this and they never want to start a business with it, and maybe if they don't even know yet if they do, it's like it's a life skill. This is something I'd want to give to my kids and everybody I care and love about. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
skill of communication and deep connection,
Yeah, and forgiveness comes into play with
forgiveness,
mediumship too.
all of
There's
this
so many
healing
layers.
comes into it. So it's not just for business, not just doing it full time. It's like just look at this like it's an intuition or like it's a communication class or like it's a vision class. It's a life skill. Like if I had a life skill class, this would be in it.
Right. Totally. And that's why we love teaching our students. So, what we would love to hear from you is, what are your insights from this podcast episode? Also, we know a lot of you on this page already joined the free webinar that's coming up. It's next Thursday at 7. It's all about mediumship confidence. You could be brand new to mediumship, you could be an expert. We have all different people in there. Um, we'll be on Zoom and we're excited to see you. So, if you want more info, you can go to lindsaymarino.com, click on the events tab, and you'll see the class and
Yeah,
you
and
can
only
sign
do it
up.
if you want to know how to take your confidence from here to here.
Yes. Okay, see you guys soon. Bye.